Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm your teacher for today's lesson, Brian Stewart. We've talked about part one, lesson one in life science, where we were talking about the parts of a plant. In lesson two, we are going to talk about the life cycle of a plant. How does a plant grow? It's really amazing. I'm sure you will find that out after this lesson. In this lesson, you will discover the life cycle of a plant. But what do we mean? What do we mean by the life cycle? Cycle is something that goes around and around, like your bicycle, right? You have two wheels on your cycle that go around and around. This is a cycle. When we talk about life cycle, every living thing goes through a cycle, from a very small baby growing into an adult, dies, and then another organism grows in its place. This is what happens with plants. They have a life cycle. It's the cycle of life. Let's get started into our lesson. Here we see the life cycle, as I've described before. The life cycle is the cycle of life. It's how something grows into an adult and then dies and then comes back and grows again. Life all around us is going through this cycle. We can see examples of babies. We can see examples of teenagers, for example, middle part. We can see examples in the middle part of a life. And then we see examples of things that die. This is all part of the life cycle. It's the series of changes. The series of changes occurring in an animal or plant. Like I said, all life goes through a series of changes in the life cycle. Okay, we are also going to start off with the very beginning of the life cycle for a plant. What is that? Remember in lesson one we talked about the seed, and I said we would talk more about that later. It's very important. Well, that's what we're talking about now. The seed is a very important part of the life cycle. The seed is the small part of a plant. Remember what makes the seed? That's right, fruit. Inside the fruit, we have seeds. So the seed is a small part of a plant from which a new plant may be grown. So the fruit that contains seeds, when we eat it, or the fruit is carried along by something else, like an animal, they open up, the seeds fall out, and then they will grow again. In many cases, of course, human beings will take the seeds and we will put them in the ground to make them grow. A seedling, when we put the seed in the ground, after a while, if we give it good ground or soil and we give it some water, what happens? A very small plant starts to grow. That is called a seedling. You guys practice. Seedling. Seedling. A seedling is a very young plant, like a baby plant that comes out from a seed. It's a very small plant that comes out. It's really amazing if you have time and you can watch it, but usually we don't have that kind of time. It takes some time, but if we use a video, a special video technique, and we take a picture once in a while, then we put it all together, it's very amazing to watch a seedling grow from a seed. Let's take a look. We have a video. Okay, see here we have many different seeds in the ground. Wow, look at that. They're growing up like little seedlings. So we have the time through this photography, you know, that it doesn't grow this fast, of course. This video is taken over a long period of time and speeded up so that we can see how these seeds will grow and they will make little seedlings. They will sprout up through the ground. It's really amazing, isn't it? Okay, so what we saw there, like the word that I used, sprout, right? We're using this word as a verb, right? I said these seeds will sprout up. Right now, we can imagine there's a seed under the ground here, and this seedling is sprouting up through the dirt. So if a plant sprouts, new leaves begin to grow on it. So basically what's happening is this seedling is growing up and it starts to put out leaves right away. Okay, very quickly, because leaves are a very important part of the plant. Okay, Now, it's very important that the seed is protected, right? If the seed needs to have some kind of shell or coat around it to protect it from the elements, to protect it from insects, for example. A seed coat covers and protects a seed. So you can see it's been taken away here. This part is the seed coat. Normally, it covers the whole seed, but this seed is about to grow. So it looks like it broke off. It's going to start growing now. But if you take a look at the apple, you open up the apple, you've got the small dark brown seeds. That dark brown coloring is the coat of the seed. And this is a different kind of seed here, but it's the seed coat. It's like you put on a coat to protect yourself. That's exactly what this is here, a seed coat. A cone is where the seeds will grow. Now this is a special kind of cone, right? You see these in the fall and especially in the winter. If you go into the forest, into a pine forest, there are many pine trees around in Korea. If you go into the forest, like maybe some of the national parks like Soraksan, Woraksan, Chirisan, right? You can see all of these different cones on the ground and they're lying around. These are pine cones. And inside the cone, there are little seeds. So a cone that has many seeds is the fruit of the pine tree. So it's strange to think that this is fruit, isn't it? Of course, you wouldn't eat that. Oh, it would be terrible. And also it would hurt your mouth. But this is the type of fruit that a pine tree grows. So we don't eat the fruit of a pine tree, right? We eat the fruit of an apple tree or a lemon tree, but we don't eat the fruit of a pine tree. But it's still a kind of fruit. And this is the kind of fruit that a pine tree produces. And like we saw, inside the fruit are seeds. So this is a type of fruit as well. Interesting. An adult. We've talked about the seed, we've talked about the seedling, and after a long time, we have an adult. And of course, a tree takes a very, very long time to grow. Some trees are hundreds of years old, right? If you can imagine that. An adult means fully grown. So if it's an adult plant, if it's an adult dog, or if it's an adult human being, it means it is fully grown. It's in the final stage of growth. It's fully grown. Now, let's review here. We've talked a little bit about the life cycle, right? We've talked about the seed, we've talked about the seedling, we've talked about fruit that gives more seeds, and we've talked about adult. Let's take a look at this example of a life cycle. And I like this plant, right? Dalgi mashisoyo, right? Very delicious. So I like this plant. This is a good example. First, of course, we start here. Let's start here. We can see somebody. Did you know that a strawberry seed looks like that? I didn't know that, but that's very interesting. So, of course, we start with the seed. We put the seed in the ground. You can also say we're planting. To plant a seed. Plant a seed. Oh, there we go, seed. So that's very interesting because we see plant is not only a noun, it's also a verb. We plant a seed. We put it in the ground. What happens after we plant it? Well, what grows next? A seedling grows. A seedling will grow from that seed if we give it some time, water. Water. After the seedling grows, we have this plant here. What do we call this? We call these growing plants. They are growing. They're getting bigger. They are developing, just like you are growing, okay? But in this case, the plants are growing. What do we have here? We have flowers, among the different strawberries. Strawberry flowers, these strawberry flowers are white and yellow. Okay, so they're very beautiful. They're very pretty, and of course, we can see many flowers in the spring. Now up here, the plants are in their adult stage. These are adult plants. But what do we have here? This, of course, are fruit, and inside the fruit are new seeds. These seeds can be found inside the strawberries. Okay, so that's great. So next time you want to have strawberries, great. They're very delicious. And remember that you can use those strawberries, you can eat it, or you can use the seeds to plant in the ground and grow new strawberry plants. So it's a very interesting cycle. But this is, of course, all part of the plant life cycle and continual growth. The plant will grow into an adult, it will give fruit, and from the fruit we get seeds, and it repeats again and again. Just like the wheels on your bicycle, it is a cycle. It goes around and around. Okay, let's review here. Let's do a little exercise. We're going to review the words that we talked about so far in a series of exercises.